Hey guys, I was talking to my pastor this morning and he was asking me about how do I cut my hair at home because I got to do something. So I wanted to go online and just give a little tip or a few tips about how you can do that and kind of minimize tears from mistakes that could happen with a clipper and cutting yourself loose at home. So let's get started here. You're going to want to order or buy a clipper. Wahl, W-A-H-L makes good ones, and they come as a kit, so kind of looks like that. You'll get your kit. It will have the clipper. It will have some clipper guides. It will have a little thing of oil, a little brush to clean your blades. All right, so what you'll want to do, I just want to tell you, the clippers have this little guide thing on there. It gives you a little extra room with the blade. Since you're going to be doing not fades and trying to get all fancy with it, what I would do is just leave that in one position. When you put your clipper guide on, just make sure it's in one position and then you don't have to touch it and just leave it be. I'm going to demonstrate with my little peanut clipper, which does not have that little thing, but I'll show you kind of what you do with the stuff that you get. So you're going to get that little thing of oil, and then what you're going to want to do is poke a little hole in it, like clip it or poke a little hole in it so it dispenses a little bit of oil. You're going to want to oil your blade, just a little drip across here, and then you're going to turn it on, and the blades will distribute the oil. Turn it off and take a clean cloth and wipe your blade off a little bit, any extra that's on there. So now it's lubricated and it's ready to function as a machine, because the blade goes like this, and that's how the hair gets cut. And if it's dry or it gets hair or dirt in there, it seizes those blades and they can pull your hair. So you want to keep the blade in good shape and oiled up. All right. Next thing is you kind of want to determine how much hair you're going to take off. So typically I'm going to say for like cleaning up a haircut, especially if the sides and the back are starting to just like make you, determine how short. If you knew what your barber or hairdresser did as far as, I use a number 4, then now you have that information. If you don't know, then I recommend you don't go shorter than a number 4 unless you have incredibly short hair. Like I'm talking like stubble. Then you know that they went shorter than a 4. A number 4 is going to leave you with about a ½ inch of hair. So go slow, be cautious, because you can always take more hair off, but you can't put it back on. The next thing is you're going to be in a well-lit area with a good mirror. A hand mirror would be nice so that you can kind of check your progress. And also really good if you have someone who can help you. That would be very nice. So starting with that 4, you're going to look at your head. You're going to have a comb, and you're going to take your comb and you're going to set it on the side of your head. And you can see, most people's heads are round, that it goes away from the comb at a certain point. So I would recommend you don't use your clipper above where it goes away from your head, because then the short hair is going to follow the shape of your head and you're going to have a very round haircut. So unless you're going to just buzz your entire head, I would use that. That just kind of gives you the idea of where your head starts to round. It's usually just a little bit above the ear, like the temple area above the ear. And then there's this little ridge in the back of your head. It's called the occipital. And that's usually a pretty good place that you don't go above the occipital unless you're cutting the hair extremely short as a blending point. It kind of keeps you from making mistakes. All right. So if you are helping someone, it helps if you take that same comb and you can just kind of place that horizontally on the back of the person's head, right where that bone is, and you're at the base of that bone, and it kind of gives you a line there, and you can just kind of hold it. And then the clipper has your number 4 on it. Very important. That sound is important, that clicking sound, because that tells you that the guard is in place and it's secured. So when you turn it on, just make sure that it's not like flipping around, because that's a sad day. All right, so you have your clipper guard, it's on securely. You turn it on, you have your boundary in place, and then you can just take from the nape of your neck where the hair first starts growing, and you can go up to that boundary. you know, up, and you're going to go away. You know, it's going to kind of do this kind of thing. You're going to go away from the head. And once you finish kind of that whole area behind the ear, at the occipital bone there, ear to ear, back here, then you can look at it. If that looks short enough, perfect. If you need to go shorter, then you can go down one size, go to a 3, go to a 2, go to a 1 if you want it extremely short, because a 1 is like stubble. It's like almost no hair. And you can go longer too. You can use the 8. An 8 is like a 1 inch. So if you usually have like just a cleaned up man's haircut, you can use an 8 back there and it'll take off the extra length, but it's going to leave you with an inch of hair. Then if you're doing this on yourself, obviously you're going to, maybe you could take your hand or a comb and you can put it back here and you just, you know, meet that comb all the way around. Kind of just find yourself bouncing in, or you can take the flat, you can take your hand and you can hold it here, because this is pokey, but it's not going to cut you because it's the blades down here. So, you know, you can just use your hand as a guide, so you make sure you're not like, you know, putting it 2 inches here, 1 inch here. All right. Then if there is a ridge there, what you can do is you can take the next sized clipper. So like this is a 4, you can go to a 5 or a 6, and you can go that little bit that's above it, and that will help blend that kind of bulkiness that's right above where you just cut. You can also take a comb and you can comb it up through the hair and hold it to the flat of your head, and you can take the hair off that's in that. Because again, you know, if you're holding it up to where you just cut, then the hair will come through and you can just run your clipper along the outside of the comb. That's a little more advanced, and then you might feel a little scared about, like, I'm going to blend scissor comb or clipper over comb. That's kind of a barbering technique. So you can just advance by putting a bigger clipper guide on when you get to that next little bit, and just kind of take that edge off, and that will help blend it. As far as doing the sideburns, you can take those a little bit shorter typically, because that hair has a tendency to be maybe a little more wiry. If you have gray in there, it's going to definitely be more wiry. So if you do a 4, you could do a 3 there if you want it to be a little tighter. Another tip is, because your ears are typically not symmetrical, you can cut your sideburns, or you can put your hands and kind of see where they're at, and you can clean them up. And then when you're done, you put your finger at the base of the sideburn, and you do the same thing on this side, and you look, and it should be pretty level. You know, sometimes if you're cutting ear to ear and not looking, it might be a little off, because our ears are not exactly the same. So this is a good guide to make sure that your frontal view here of your burns are level, right? And then as far as blocking off the back of the hair, now's probably not the time to like get all creative with blocking off the hair. You want it to be pretty standard, which means go down to where the hair, you know, grows, and you're going to want to just make a clean, reasonable line at the very bottom. You're going to take the clipper guard off. You're going to take your clipper, or if you happen to have like one of the smaller ones that you may use for trimming eyebrows and stuff like that, you can use that. Oil the blade if it's a different clipper, or use the same one, and you're going to want to lay that in. So I'm going to use my finger. You're going to want to just lay that right onto the neck skin, and you're going to just kind of move it along in a horizontal line at the bottom until you run out of hair at the bottom. Then you're just going to make like kind of a nice rectangular shape. Don't go too far in, just the very edge of the side hair right here. Any little guys that are, you know, out of the line, you're going to go in there, and you're going to do the same thing. You're going to lay your blade in on the skin, and you're going to walk it up, okay, until you start getting to the round of the head up here, and that's going to clean up all those little bits and pieces and give you a nice blocked hairline. You can also then, if somebody's helping you, because this is really hard to do on yourself, you can fold your ear down. You know, the hair's out of the way, you can fold the ear down, and you can just clean up any little hairs to match this area with your sideburns, unless you have it blocked off pretty short here. But even still, you can kind of clean that up. And again, you kind of hold the clipper, and you just carefully just direct it around. Everything is really slow. Other hair is out of the way. You're holding things out of the way. You can have the person you're working on hold their ear down so that you can clean behind the ear, the hair, or you don't have to touch it because who's really looking that close anyway right now. Otherwise, I think that's probably about it. Just my advice is don't go above this point unless you have a full set of clipper guards, like up to 12. And then you can have 1.5 inches, which your hair is like that long. That's pretty short on top. So if your hair is straight or if you have cowlicks, that length could release your cowlicks and you could end up with hair that's kind of going boing and sticking up, and you're going to be best friends with gel for a little while. So this is just kind of to clean up around here, and then maybe now's the time that you start this new hairstyle where you have a little longer in the front. If you want to trim the front hair, if it's just getting too long or scraggly, I have another tutorial on where it talks about cutting little V's to take length off the front, so that way your hair is out of your eyes. You can throw a little gel in there. Looks great. So I hope this helps. And if you have any questions, please feel free to write a comment down below, and I'll try to answer that as best I can. In the meantime, last thing I wanted to say, and this is very important, all my years of doing hair. If your kids see you using a clipper, or you get from Amazon, a clipper, when you're done, put it away someplace in a secret place, because now is the time where kids will be like, I want to do what dad did, or I want to do what mom did, and it could get pretty gnarly. So just make sure that you don't leave it, don't put it under your sink, don't put it somewhere high and away, or else you'll get a lot of practice using your clipper. God bless you, take care, and be safe, be healthy. Bye.